Great, okay, very good. Thank you everyone for being here. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Calling the survey committee meeting to order as of 6:01. Thank you. Okay, let's go through the agenda items. First of all, like I said, everyone, thank you for being here. I'm talking about decorum. Anyone wishing to speak is asked to raise his or her hand and when recognized by the chair to address comments to the chair. Speakers are to keep the comments under 3 minutes. Public testimony taken at the beginning of each agenda item. Please silence all electronic devices. We'll have a note. The commission may take action on any agenda item as required by the state sunshine law, Hawaii Revised Statute, Chapter 92. Specific issues not noted on the agenda cannot be voted on unless properly added to the agenda. Do we have quorum?
Yes, we have 3 here.
Super, thank you. And also, Chair O'Shearl mentioned that he has his neighborhood board meeting tonight.
Yeah.
I promise he will not be here. And then see if Claire. Okay, we call the meeting to order. Is there any public concerns?
It's just us so far.
Okay.
I am a little surprised, but
Great, okay, let's go through the approval of the committee meeting minutes of Thursday, November 21. And I believe I also brought copies for everyone. Thing.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Nice second.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Is there any abstentions or comments to that? Hearing none, the meeting minutes for November 21 for the survey committee are hereby approved. Okay, the board business. The commission survey, members of the commission survey committee shall review, discuss, make recommendations, survey committee, commission survey new updates. The optimum, the words are the new updates, what we're going to be looking at today. Last time I did provide the narrative on the items submitted through the boards and the board chairs for the survey committee. And then the items here, the narrative, and also I put a PII sheet on that. The narrative here is all original content. The only thing that per the state requirements on personal identifiable information, the names were changed. The names aren't in there because it is a survey. But beyond that, the content is original. It is complete. Okay. Now, for our discussion last time, I apologize. I tried putting this into a Google Doc format, like I said, as is and then to be, and Google wouldn't cooperate. So we're going to take this between this meeting and the next meeting to go through our narratives and compile and extract those items we want to see to go out electronically on the survey. And then what we'll do, we'll just discuss that at the next meeting and then compile that with the already established questions that we have received. That's going to go out electronically. So the hard copy is for our information only. And you've gone through your material. Do you want to go ahead and share what you came up with? Milad, please. go ahead and share.
Okay, so I was tasked to review pages 9 through 12
Mhm.
as still numbered, we numbered it.
Yes.
And the commonalities that I found in these emails had to deal with, number one, location complaints.
Mhm.
In particular, this set of emails on pages 9 through 12 came from neighborhood board number 5.
Mhm.
And at the time, they had not been able to meet at the Alawai Clubhouse. And they were meeting at Pakihale, and so they had a complaint toward the NCO about their meeting location.
Mhm.
So that was something that was common throughout those pages of emails. The second commonality that I found was meeting time, the length of the neighborhood board meetings. The chairs are unable to complete their agenda And chairs should have the power to extend the meetings. So that was item number 2. Okay, and then I just want to mention as well.
May I ask a question?
Yes,
How long was their meeting? Do they note that? Is
it
there-
didn't note it. Yeah, it didn't note that. And then one email touched on, they had a quote unquote new policies complaint.
Mhm.
I don't know what the new policy they were referring to as new policies, but everything went back to 2021, the start of this new NCO administration.
Mhm.
That's where they seem to have their complaints, began from that point of time. And then the final thing that I just want to mention was the minutes. They want every detail in the minutes written, and what did I have here? They want the minutes to reflect a true reflection, but true reflection, as I went through this again and again, I thought, well, whose true reflection is it? Your true reflection can differ from my true reflection. So that was a small, thing that was in there about the details of writing meeting minutes. It should be detailed.
Mhm.
So that's what I found in my 4 pages, those items.
Great. Dylan, what is that quote from the plan about the detail of the meeting minutes? You have that down.
Well, yeah, I could tell you that the neighborhood plan, as we know, is slightly outdated. It currently explains the first part of sunshine law, which is the minutes shall be written and shall record all questions, comments, discussion. It's never been a transcript. It's always been a summarized version of what happened at the meeting. But the difference that they're not including in the plan right now, that sunshine law does include, is the second part, which is you can have a video recording, which serves as the primary record, and then accompanying that, you would have what you currently see in your survey minutes, which is if questions, comments, and concerns followed, we timestamp that. We don't list all of it like it used to be. That can be found verbatim in the video.
Mhm.
Other than that, everything's timestamped, and the most important part is the action.
Right.
What really happened
Right.
at the meeting? So
Right.
we have the vote counts, we have the timestamps. It's
Mhm.
fairly easy for someone to look at the minutes as they
Mhm.
currently are, and then go check the video for exactly what they want to see.
Right.
Great.
That would be my.
Very good.
Stephen, it
Yes.
seems as though some of the neighborhood boards want an entire narrative for meeting minutes. And that could run pages and pages and pages. So-and-so said, and then so-and-so this, and so-and-so said. And personally, I've never known minutes to be
Not
written as a narrative. It's my secretary for my nonprofit, just bullet points, does, write out motions that were made, motions that were carried, votes, but
And
everything
those
is.
people involved.
Right, it's not a narrative, but I'm getting, and we've heard it in our commissioner meetings from our guests.
Mhm.
They want a narrative. To me, watch the video, then you can hear everyone speak, who said this and that and whatnot, but so that's what I'm getting from, how they want to be able to write their minutes in a narrative form.
Mhm. Yes, Dylan?
Just to comment on what Mahia said about the length of the meetings. Yeah, I read that myself. And the policy was not 3 hours, including setup and breakdown. The meeting time is still full 3 hours from call to order to finish.
That's a long
That is up to the
meeting.
board.
Yeah,
That's
that
a-
is.
So the NCO staff is actually there an hour before to make sure everything's set up. And then if it went for the full 3 hours, they're staying another extra half hour to break down. And usually we're the last ones out. to make
Yeah,
sure
we help
everything
them
is
all
good.
put things
As
together.
you see at your
Yeah.
meetings.
Right.
So it could actually come out to 4.5 hours of staff time. And
3
the
hours?
meeting is still
Long
3
meeting.
hours. Yeah, just wanted to
It
clarify.
is.
it.
No,
The board gets 3 hours.
that's very good clarification. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. Yeah, you trained the young lady that's now taking over for you at our 30 book. She's great,
Awesome.
right on top of it. Then we have another person
Well, he was just filling in because she's out of town right now.
and he
Yeah.
did well.
So she'll be back at your next meeting.
Great.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're on it and we try to get in there early and help things set up because, there's a lot to do.
Mhm.
And then we're all done, help break. it down.
Especially in your location with the cafeteria.
Yeah, but it's sweet. It's a
Yeah.
good venue. 3 hours, last time we got out of there at 9:30.
Yeah, your meeting was actually 2.5, and that's about.
Yeah, that's a lot
longer
for
than
us.
normal. Yeah.
That's a lot for us. Okay, Commissioner,
Mine's easy,
give us your comment.
ditto.
It's
What's interesting is, because I read the first part too,
Right, yeah,
through this whole
Yeah.
thing, the neighborhood board chairs that provided input are all saying the same thing. And we knew this. Lloyd knew it because he did the conference of the chairs.
mhm,
He heard all that. It's the same thing. So, but when you get down to reality, and of course, I gave you, when I gave you my comments, okay, what was the so what factor of that paragraph I just read, that input? I gave you that bubble thing. But if you lay those out right now, you see it's redundant. It's the same
It
thing
is.
over and over again. What's interesting is because of the verbiage that was used, I could tell who wrote that. I'm going through and the other thing is, we're the only ones, are we the only ones on here now? Oh, we got Michelle.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, Michelle, we have
great.
a hand up.
But the thing
Michelle
is,
will
though-
address you just a second and have.
yeah, but
Commissioner Larry
the
Sherman.
thing is though, there was some great details that came in there that we need to really understand and take ownership of it. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a problem solver. When I saw these, and it's over and over again, I see a compromise in her. I see where the NCO came out, wanted to change these policies, but on the other hand, there are chairs out there, they're asking for help. When this policy was put forward, those ones that can't complete their meetings, the Waikiki Neighborhood Board, the Waianae Neighborhood Board, regretfully, they get in a certain way, they get a lot of people to show up, but those people want to be
they
heard.
wanna talk.
And when
Yeah.
you as a chair, you've got to know how to handle that. No
true.
redundancy. If it's already been said, please sit down.
Mhm.
You got to hold people that. And once they start, you got to stop them in their tracks. So I think there's things we could do, but I respected everything that was in here. There were also some comments that were, that I thought were a little too strong on the staff itself.
Yeah, I agree.
I didn't address those. I
Yeah.
think, it's not, that wasn't our point. Our point
Right.
was, how can we improve our operations? How can we support the neighborhood board chairs? And I do think, with the chairs, when the chairs need to be empowered with more responsibility. And I'll be bringing that up
Interesting.
in the neighborhood
That's a
plan.
good point.
But I gotta tell you, it was exactly what Maylani just said,
Mhm.
hitting locations, the time of the meetings. There's some of the boards need to have more than 3 hours, but there are restrictions because the location only gives you 3 hours.
Mhm.
So you gotta put that back on the chair to work with the staff and change your location. Because if it's stuck in 3 hours and you absolutely gotta have 4 hours, then you go find that place to get support.
Mhm.
Because I got that where I'm at. I got the keys to the facility. That's what's really good.
Yeah,
But the other thing is be realistic on the minutes, okay? A process was put in place by the NCO to try to streamline things, but neighborhood board members in particular are very strong. That substance, there she is.
How you doing?
But you,
Happy New
but
Year.
for Stupson, and Maylani, what you said, when it comes to the board actions, board business, every bit of that needs to be detailed, because that's what goes down in history. You can't go through the video to go search, because there are times I'm thinking, man, I need that resolution from way back.
Mhm.
I only go back to a certain period. But you got to be able to search, and that's the most important thing when you prioritize in the minutes. So how do you do that? Now, I think what I'm going to be proposing later on to the neighborhood planning is you put the auspices on the board. You got a board secretary. There's an automatic process that went into place, because they know what's important.
Mhm.
The staffer does it. And you got to appreciate the board members that stand up to the plate. They take an action item, they're running with it. They got presenters that came in, and they're strong because the city's shoving something down their throat that they do not want. And they want that documented because they're holding people accountable. So, and that's the majority of it. There was nothing else that really stood out. Claire was easy.
Yeah,
I was a repeat of what she just said.
well, no, but so just jumping into the
Go
conversation,
ahead.
I can understand the idea, and because I had some of that, I mean, people were wanted a more,
Michelle will be with you in just a minute, okay?
some
Gonna
people,
have,
some people
Commissioner
wanted a
here.
more detailed minute thing, but I think we have to remember that, the meetings are not, a bully pulpit for people who want to have attention or
Mhm.
want to be able to speak. So, if we're dealing with a certain matter and you speak on it, you speak on it, you speak on it, sorry, we can say, well, we had some discussion, people spoke to the matter. The board then, heard all the discussion, and then if they took action on it, voted on it. I think to me, you don't have to say, well, Larry, you said this, and Lenny, you said this. I mean, I think that in a sense is too detailed.
Mhm.
I think, yes, you want to document some of and you can say, well, if there's somebody who had opposition to something, you say, some residents or some board members voiced opposition to this because of blah, 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 kind of thing. But, if it's just, well, you're just reiterating what somebody said, or I don't think that needs to be, that's, I think that's one thing we can, cut and then everybody has to review the minutes come the next meeting. Yeah, like what you were saying, the chair also reviews the minutes before they go out. And if the chair sees something that he feels is important, or even other board members feel something is important, yes, then they should maybe highlight those things and put that in.
And to me, that's the chair's responsibility to
Mhm.
oversee and say, and actually counsel the board member and say, hey, just what you just said, yeah, that was important, all that stuff, but I'm gonna tell you right now, we don't need that in there.
Mm,
But we got this covered, we got your other area,
yeah.
that compromise in there.
Yeah, because I got some that said, well, what legislative action have they done to reduce, to take care of homelessness, housing shortage? That's not the kuleana of the board unless there's a matter of like affordable housing in Aya that's coming up and they want to discuss, matters relating to that, a particular project within their neighborhood. So, sorry. Also, I had a runny nose.
Don't get us sick,
Thank you
okay?
for being here. Thank you so
No,
much for
allergies.
persevering.
I don't know what it is, but my nose is all red. We visited with Dr. Kulea today.
Because they were late.
Right, let's go ahead and, anything else, Claire?
No, I
Okay.
mean, did you go through all your things?
Oh, no, we just
No,
started.
no, we're
Oh,
just,
okay.
no, what we're gonna do, I just caveat about the meeting. We're just gonna share briefly what we have. And, we're gonna go through and spend between this session tonight and the next survey meeting, go through in detail what we actually want to put in the electronic survey. And then we share those the next meeting, and then we'll combine that with what we already have in hand, make recommendations to the commission
Okay,
following the next time.
okay.
And for the planning committee to absorb that also. So right now, we're fine, we're on schedule. Michelle, I see your hand. Can I see you? Can I see you?
Thank you very much. My camera isn't working right now. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
okay. Yes, speak up just a little bit.
Maybe I can turn the volume up here.
Oh, we got you.
Very well.
Dylan's doing it.
Yes, we're okay.
He's the master.
Okay, now I don't want to be yelling.
No, you're perfect.
Thank you.
You're perfect.
Okay.
Thank
It's great to see you. You're doing such a wonderful service for us. We really need the help. Steve, thank you so much for your leadership. And Larry, I agree with everything you said, practically. I'd like to start with a 3-hour meeting limit. That was imposed on the boards. I've been a member for, I won't say how long, elected member of our board, a few decades. And we never had these problems before February 2021. We were able to complete our meetings. We were able to have minutes that reflected comments, questions, answers, concerns. You only get a line that says there were comments, questions, answers, and concerns. That's it. Our minutes are not minutes. They are summaries of a recording that, as Larry said, you have to go back and you have to try and find it and listen to it to really get the gist of things. Especially regarding the state law, Chapter 92-9A requires complete written minutes with the views of all the participants. They can be summarized, they don't have to be detailed, he said, she said, but they need to be summarized as the concerns that were expressed by the participants. None of this has been happening as of February 2021. We need to have a change so we can complete our meetings. We have put the minutes last because they are the least accurate and take up the most time to sort out. And we never get to the minutes because we can't complete our meeting. And 4 hours would be good for us. And I know other boards have the same problem. Give us the leeway of having up to 4 hours. What is the neighborhood commission office about? Are they there to serve the administration, or are they there to create policies for the commission and the boards, which has happened? Everybody has a different perspective on an issue. And if somebody paraphrases or repeats what somebody says, I agree, they should be reminded that it's already been stated. But if it's a different perspective, if it's a more detailed or knowledgeable perspective, that should be allowed to happen. And we have a lot of those issues before our board, with city projects, with state projects, with public traffic safety. Larry, I think, is familiar with our agenda. I think that the statement was correct about you need details regarding the actions. Minutes, proper minutes, complete minutes, are actually historical reference materials for the boards to understand why decisions were made previously by a community that had the knowledge to make those decisions. And there are new board members that are on a learning curve. It would be great for them to go back to previous minutes on specific issues that are being revisited. And that's all I have to say right now. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Question,
Great, thank you.
maybe not. Ask. Michelle?
Go ahead, yes,
This
please,
is,
Claire.
this
Yes.
is Claire Tamamoto. So when you get the minutes, do you read them ahead of time when they go out?
Before they go out.
Oh, no,
Okay.
I don't. The chair, he's basically thrown up his hands because it's always the same and it's the same argument about the minutes and we do read the minutes when
Okay, and at that
they are
that time,
posted.
yeah, at that time, when you read the minutes, do you find that there are some indiscrepancies or some deficiencies, and do you bring that up to the chair so that he's aware of that? So that you're not taking up valuable board time to do that?
No, we don't have to take up a valuable board time to do that because I do communicate with the chair. And he's a very good chair and he understands exactly what the problem is, but nobody can do anything about the problem. It remains the same.
And they can't talk about it because they can't get to the minutes at the end of the meeting. They never got to it.
Yeah, but that's why they're trying to, streamline it because, you know, really and realistically, if most board meetings start at 6 o'clock, you know, it's 7, 8, 9. If you want to go forward to 10 o'clock.
Yes, we start at 6
Okay,
and
so,
we have a very heavy agenda. We have presentations. We have
What location is it?
many community concerns.
I-
Everybody by law is allowed to speak at these meetings.
yes, I understand. They're allowed to speak, and they're supposed to speak for, I think, 2 minutes, and then if they can speak again to the matter after everyone has spoken for another 2 minutes. But to see, therein is the problem. If you have so many people speaking, maybe the agenda needs to be smaller.
Well, you really can't slice the agenda into pieces when you have urgent community concerns with time-sensitive materials such as city council bills and legislative bills.
But nothing.
Okay,
You know,
but-
we had a good system before,
So this
and
guy-
those who have been board members for any length of time know that everything was possible
Yeah.
prior to February 2021.
Well, you referred to February 2021, but I also think it's important to realize that, you know, like anywhere, you have to, we're relying a lot on the NAs, the neighborhood assistants, to take all the minutes, and they're
It should be
spread thin.
second.
Maybe some of the secretaries of the
Yes.
boards can do some of the minutes to help out.
They should
Really,
be
the
right.
NAs are there to assist, not to do the work.
I
Of
beg
the
to
board.
differ. I beg to differ because the NAs are very capable. They're very dedicated, and they do the very best they can. We've had excellent NAs.
Yeah,
The
no, I'm
problem-
not saying,
The
not
problem
saying
is
they're not
that
capable.
they have to do other things in the neighborhood commission office. They're given the title of PR, public relations. We had the executive secretary come to our board and tell us, get away from the table, go out into the community and adopt a park. Excuse me, we have far more serious issues to contend with. So
Okay, well, maybe.
we need to just get past this, and we need to realize that some boards need more time because they have very heavy agendas because of the communities they serve, such as Diamond Head, couple of St. Louis Heights, Waikiki. You mentioned other boards, and then other like Steve's board. He can do fine in a couple of hours. So let's share the responsibilities. And the problem with the neighborhood commission office is they don't have enough staff to do the work they were originally delegated to do.
And how do you
Now
propose
everything's been
solving that?
cut short and sliced up, and everybody is trying. We're just trying to get it back to normal again. That's all.
Okay,
We're
so
doing
thank you. Yeah, thank you for your input. I think maybe that has to be a survey question. How long is your neighborhood board meeting? And then maybe those people who have shorter meetings, you know, it's not the neighborhood board, well, maybe I have a misconception. The neighborhood board meeting is not the only community meeting there is, you know. And so they don't have the responsibility of dealing with everything there is on the, you know, that's happening in their community. Where I'm from IM, we had a representative that a state representative never came to neighborhood board meetings because they felt that this was a city function. So it just depends where you are. So maybe one of the survey questions is how, you know, ask the neighborhood boards, how long are your neighborhood board meetings?
Very good.
And then see if we can,
Um, uh, the um, the boards are all different with different uh, pressing issues, and so they have to be recognized as which they are delegated to do as being quasi-governmental advisory to federal, state, and local agencies and officials. And we can't be advisory if we can't get the input from the community to make the best recommendations. And we try very hard to do that.
okay,
But we're cut off, and the policy was cut it off at 2.5 hours because it takes a half hour to fold up all the chairs. That's what we got as a policy from the executive secretary.
Well, but you understand that, right? I mean, a lot of times when you have a neighborhood board meeting at 10 o'clock or however time that ends, everybody leaves and the neighborhood assistant and the chairs left to pick everything up, hold everything. By the time they're getting out of the door, it's 10:30 or past. That's a lot to ask.
Our
something.
neighborhood board meetings close down at 8:45 because of the takedown issue. We are being shortchanged. We cannot get through our agendas. Our community is very active. I cannot state any more than I've stated. And so that is a position that differs from perhaps other people's opinions. But I would really respect the chair to include this concern in his survey. Thank you.
Great, thank
Okay,
you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
I'm
Dylan,
understand.
would you mind repeating what we spoke about? Michelle, comments are good. Dylan, about what we just talked about, the length of the meeting. Would you quote that again?
Oh, yes,
We
yes.
just
I think
covered
when
that
it
question
first,
ago.
when it was first announced, what, 2 years ago, there was a misconception about the 3 hours would include setup and breakdown, but that was quickly taken back and shared with the entire board
Right.
system. 3 hours for the board meeting. So if your meeting starts at 6, you get all the way until 9 PM. The neighborhood assistant that goes to the meeting will be there an hour early and usually stays, as Claire stated, about half an hour later. So they are there for 4.5 hours. The board still gets 3 hours. Nothing has changed. There was maybe one board that was dealing with a special contract. So their facility was already kind of
Oh.
doing them a favor, helping them out, letting them meet there. But they did just have a request, like if you could be out by 9. So maybe that did include the 15-minute, but that is not this case. And I did want to mention, because it is interesting, we're in what we call hybrid meetings now.
Yes.
But Michelle's not wrong. Before COVID, all the meetings were in person.
Mhm.
So the practice was the neighborhood assistant goes to the meeting as usual, brings pen and paper, takes notes. At the 3 hour mark, the neighborhood assistant would get up, grab their belongings and leave
Yeah,
if the venue would allow the board to continue meeting. And at that point, the
Hmm.
secretary would take over solely for the minutes. That also happened during COVID because there's a suspension of the in-person meeting requirement. So when I first started here, I was actually doing meetings from home. And at that 3 hour mark, I could leave the meeting and give the host privileges to the board chair and they could continue meeting for 5 hours. Legally, or you can't do that right now legally because you have to have it at least an in-person. But we're getting beside the point. That was in the past. We have a lot of contracts. They're all different, they all vary, but we work for the 3 hours for the board, which does require about a 4 hour contract agreement.
So Michelle, that's actually the Bible on that. You have a 3 hour meeting. If something else is preventing that, we need to deal with that. I know that also what I've noticed in my review of the comments, I would recommend also what we're going to be looking at doing more training, also integrating. This reminds me of the discussion I had with Kathleen Pahanui. Their North Shore meetings were killer, just like, it was just amazing how long they would go. I asked her about that recently. What they've done is they took it and they also have committees, say committee for the parks, committee for the beaches, or those different other committees. Those committees have their own meeting. Then they bring those summaries to the neighborhood board meeting. That
That's what
way,
we do. We do that.
it's maybe something that still needs to be pursued. Anything that we can do, and then I know that under the law, you always have to have people come in and they're allowed to share, which is fine. But we have to have I'm also thinking about developing a master's class. Like yourself, I've been on the neighborhood board system for like 10 years now. We've outlived 3 governors, been chair, and been supporting, and we come in early, seriously. We come in early, we help set things up, make sure things are right, make sure the assistant's set up ready to rock, make sure everything's working electronically. When people come in, we greet them, we help lay out all the things for the handouts. And then when we're done, we stay, even so we're all tired, we've all worked all day. We stay, we help things get put away so that the assistant isn't there till late. And we have the keys, so we can't lock the door. We're at the school, we can't lock the door until things are done. And so the neighborhood assistants will work great, but I think it's also refining. And, you know, we talked a little bit about, you mentioned also about the people, the new board members. I always take a new board member, so I'm right next to a seasoned board member, say, listen, that's what I did. There's a lady that was a teacher for 40 years in DOE, and I was all a little vim and vigor when I first came on the board, I still am. And they sat me down next to her, and I started going to talk to something, and she looked at me and goes like this. I go, what? I was quiet, you know, I'm not used to that, but anyway, she was like this. And then she leans to me, she goes, God gave you 2 years to listen and 1 mouth to talk. That means you need to spend twice as long listening. I said, oh, okay, fine. Because sometimes, and also when I do presentations, sometimes I have people hold the questions to the end. Because we may be answering the questions midstream too, during the presentation. So it doesn't get, you know, disjointed. But master class would be good. Also mentoring. Mentoring is the last part. It's like discipling. Mentoring, a mentor loves you just like you are. They love you too much to leave you like you are. So that perhaps also we can integrate into the boards, start about mentoring each other, because we help each other out, like Commissioner Larry here. But those are my comments off the top, Michelle. Really appreciate your comments. Go ahead.
Yeah, what I was gonna say was, you know, we got the survey back. We've got these key points that came up that were redundant.
Mhm.
And I think as commissioners, it's our responsibility to take ownership of the part of this, as our game plan is to get this, to put what's right in the neighborhood plan. But in the meantime, listening to Michelle, listening to other boards that they're struggling to get through their meetings, we as chairs should sit down with as commissioners, sit down with the chairs and talk about what they could do to try to streamline their agendas. I'm going to tell you, the world has always put on me when I was in the Navy. When you have a line item there, you got to talk about it. If you don't have the line item, that just saved you 5 to 10 minutes. So what you need to look at, what's priority. And then the other thing, yes, there might be some community groups that might be disappointed that from your priority listing, they didn't make the cut. But you let them know, so I'll tell you what, I'll let you come every quarter. That just saved you that 5, 10 minutes.
Next meeting.
Yeah,
Next
so
meeting.
I
It'll
don't
be
need to have
first.
Congressman Case
Yeah.
representative every single meeting. I could do it every quarter because he doesn't show up for every meeting and I don't have everybody. So that's just something I just, trying to find that compromise and do what's right, because these things that came up, they're festering. We need to come up with solutions. And I'm confident that with the staff here, of course, I know you guys, I agree with Michelle, the things from you guys. I don't know how you do it, but you know what? I respect you because Anson does a great job for me. And I'll be honest with you, this is just me. Our neighborhood meetings should not go past 2 hours. Those priorities, I think you can still discuss. When it goes over that is when you're lining up your lawmakers. Like right now, my next meeting coming up in January, I got 5 resolutions on that thing that we got to get through. Because I'm putting that in. That's going to be the baseline for us to provide testimony down the road. Next month, it ain't going to be like that. It'll be a shorter meeting.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all I got.
Thank you very much for that good comment.
So,
Please go ahead.
Chair, how, with everything that we've read in these emails, how do we create survey questions, or how do we wrap it into survey questions that we could get, or, maybe tweak the survey questions so we could get responses that can be, give solutions?
Let's take what you have, so to speak, you have to have electronically copy and paste of one that you want. If it's the same question 3 or 4 times, take that. I like the narrative of the content's very important. It's a person's
Right.
perspective, emotion, feeling, knowledge base. So we capture the content, okay, and take that and put that as form of a question or statement for the survey. And then, because what we're going to be doing when we then those copy and paste items that we decide we're going to go forward on, then we just copy and paste those into electronic format and they go out. Okay. Like you said, we talk about redundancy. Things that are redundant tells me it's important to the boards. We have to support the boards. If it's redundant, that's okay. But also that means that we need to do, that tells me that we need to do training in that area. Maybe mentoring, maybe visit the boards. There was an uproar. There were some problems a year or so ago concerning one of the boards downtown. And I know the chair, and he was pulling his hair out, right? And everybody's speaking three different languages, you know, how am I supposed to do this? And he's trying to teach them at that time how to do things remotely, you know, how to come in if you're not there, how do you do things virtually? And you're talking to somebody in a different language. So I said, look, I'll help you out. Went there, shared a bit, did a little presentation, gave him some examples, and stayed during the meeting, and it worked.
So
It's kind of like breaking the ice, saying, hey, we're all in this together, let's work together on this.
So the question, well, there are survey questions, you know, that they can answer, you know, just I don't want to say, it's not open-ended. It's, you know, so we have some of that. Do you think that we should have some, well, actually, we could get a whole ton of suggestions and then we'd have to, how we're gonna wrap it all together? I mean, I'm just kind of thinking out loud.
Remember, we're going to take our questions and put them out.
Yeah,
And then when they come back, we're gonna drive that into data
yeah,
to present that to the commission and
to the committee,
The public.
okay,
the planning committee. So
right,
we're not, so right now, we're still in the sorting process. We're gonna take this next, between this meeting or next survey meeting, as a compiling and the sorting. And then we'll decide that the next, when we do that, at that next meeting, then we'll decide those questions.
yeah. There are some questions in the survey that mentions training.
Yes.
I haven't looked at it in a while, but you know, do you, okay, all right. Which I just want to make a comment. You know, the neighborhood assistants, you know, Dylan mentioned that, in the past 3 hours they were there, they took the notes, and then when their 3 hour time limit was up, they left, and then the secretary took over. My question is, why is the secretary not writing the minutes? They serve as a support to the secretary, but it seems that the
They are.
minutes are all thrown on them and the secretary's not. So the roles should be reversed,
Traditionally, the NARs took the minutes,
because in
and
the,
then they recorded it. And their
Right.
always did the meeting minutes, and then the secretary traditionally review the minutes before they go out, and then before we present it at the next,
right,
board meeting.
but it doesn't. I've looked through the neighborhood, the current neighborhood plan that we have, and it all brings it back to they serve as a support. So I'm thinking, if each neighborhood board has officers, you know, a chair, a vice chair, a secretary, and a treasurer, the secretary's job would be to take minutes. I mean, as in any other nonprofit or organization that has a board. So
Because they also prepare the treasurer's report.
they do as well, and they have 30. How many boards we have? 33. That, how many of you carry that task? Because it's all thrown on them, so I feel the secretary should take more responsibility and take minutes and then work with them to compile the notes together.
I don't think you have any.
I like the idea of together. I don't know if we can just have them do that because they're volunteers. They're not paid. And then have to learn how to do that where the NAs are.
Right,
Traditionally, the NAs, they take the meeting minutes and it was fantastic. And then our people go, the secretary go and review it with them. And, but I'm feeling more and more about working together on these things. The mentoring, the training, helping the boards out all that we can. Yes, Larry.
Yeah, Chair, can I add one
Yes,
thing?
Commissioner.
I'm going to tell you right now, I've been secretary before, and it's not a good job. To try to find somebody, when you say, okay, can I get somebody to volunteer for secretary? You're going to be one board member because they know if you're going to do it right, we're talking 4 to 5 hours. You got to go back over the videotape again because you can't take all the notes and all the things that's going down.
The NAs always.
And let me tell you, these guys play it over and over again, trying to do the best thing they can. But you got Michelle's hand. I know she wants to.
Go ahead and finish
She-
your
she-
train of thought.
But anyway, I really think that's the challenge. You can't expect them to do the whole thing, but you can put on responsibility that they are supposed to put the most important contact, and the chair has got to be there to say, yes, that's what we want in there.
yeah. There should be a collaboration, because
Yes,
if
yeah,
there's
that's
a
right.
person that holds
right.
the office of secretary, don't just be there to warm a seat, do something and collaborate with our neighborhood assistants, because
Yes.
they have a lot to carry.
Very good. Right. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I have Michelle's hand up.
Okay, so, yeah, I agree that with what you're saying, Mahelani and Larry, I think the recordings serve as an additional caveat. I
Mhm.
mean, they are the backup if you have something that's in dispute or something that needs to be added and they need to check. So yes, I think the secretary also is another backup. If the NA is doing, and then maybe the minutes need to go to the secretary, first, and then they can review it.
Mhm.
And then if there's some discrepancy, then you also have the backup of the recording. I think you have to, when we send out the survey questions, besides just like, how long are your meetings? And if they're too, or are they too long? Are they too short or just right? But can we have a section where they say, what are your suggestions?
Yeah,
and try to
what do you
make
Yeah,
them-
suggest? Yeah,
Absolutely.
Because it's
We have
just
that-
not just throw out,
right, right,
and then say, okay, it's your problem.
right. What do you
Okay.
suggest?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
Right.
it has to be agreeable to. them.
right,
And it may be different for different boards.
right.
Michelle, you took your hand down. Did you get your answer?
Well, with Claire's last comments, yes, I think that is the wisest thing to do is to ask how the boards would feel. However, I think there is a great uh, uh, disconnect here with secretaries taking volunteer board secretaries taking minutes. This is the delegated responsibility of the neighborhood commission office, and it always
I
has
think
been.
so.
So,
And they are trained to do this. And I see somebody disagreeing, but I don't know if she's been a member of the board for 30 years. Need to look at the law, need to look at section 92-9. You need to look at the original neighborhood plan that does delegate the commission office. The commission office does not dictate to the commission or the boards. Their role is to help the commission and the boards, support the commission and the boards. I see
yeah,
neighborhood commission office telling commission and boards what to do. So let's fix this. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Dylan, do you have a comment?
Yeah, just in some positive news, how you both had mentioned, basically working together
Yeah.
as a board. I'm sure the neighborhood assistant can continue what they're doing, but if the board would like to see more detailed minutes, they could trash whatever the NA does, and they could write their own however they want. It's
Yeah.
always ultimately the board's decision because it's their minutes. But there is a board, just off the top of my head, where it's worked out. They understood the new style of minutes. They like the YouTube. They like that on-demand recording and all those features in the Google Drive. They like all the technology that's been implemented. So they understand the transition. They did, however, as a board, say, yes, we would like some more detail in the minutes. But in that decision said, let's have the secretary take what the NA did and then add to it. So in a particular board, it's the questions, comments, and concerns. The board agreed, we don't need to know who said what,
right.
but basically they summarized what was that discussion in that section. That could be an hour-long conversation, and that's why our policy was it's legal to do it with the recording. It's also
Mhm.
verbatim. It's full transparency.
Mhm.
That was the whole purpose of what minutes are. It's full transparency. So if that's captured there, and then we have this, actually these minutes, I know they're very slim for this committee because the agenda is also short. But what we currently do is above and beyond what the bare minimum requirements for the law is.
Yeah.
You don't need a summary. You could just write a timestamp that this item occurred at this time, and then you just got to make sure that the motions and the vote.
Yeah, if
Are
the
in
motions are
But we
done.
still understand that, yeah, the public, anyone that wants to read the minutes, even the board members that weren't at the meeting, they want to see a paragraph of what did my council member talk about? What were the topics they discussed?
Mhm.
Because then if that does interest you, you have a timestamp to go to the video. But I did just want to reiterate that there is situations where the boards are doing what you're talking about. Take the NA's draft, and then before it goes public, they add in what they feel is
That's a
necessary.
good point.
And then that's the public document.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if it was shared when the NA finishes the minutes, the draft, we'll say, what we do is we send it to the secretary and the chair,
Yes,
because it is the
That's right.
secretary's responsibility to do the minutes.
that's right.
Mhm.
Proof.
And it is helpful for the chair to see what happened at the last meeting, for them to make sure that they have all the items on their next agenda.
Yeah.
So we
That's right.
keep both of those parties in
That's
that
right.
email chain.
I think that traditionally, as I mentioned, the NA have the recording and
Yeah.
they just take them, do the minutes. Because the law states they have to have certain requirements. They wouldn't, I don't use the word trust, but they know the NAs are trained in this. And when I've done adjudication for a court, the meeting minutes are actually meeting minutes. Remember, we did this quite a bit with Tano de Santos. We had to go back through things. And so we actually combed through meeting minutes that were a couple years old. And that's how we decided our responses to the courts and all that. So the meeting minutes are legal, it's a legal document
Mhm.
under the law. So that's why the NAs have the responsibility for generating that, I think, from the beginning. But I'm totally into also having it work collaboratively, exactly what you said, get done, give it to the secretary. They're there for that. They have the office.
They should be taking
they have the
notes as
office.
well throughout their
Exactly,
meeting. Yeah.
because the board owns the meeting, okay? But we're there we have so many elected officials come to our meetings, the military comes, and everything's important, especially when they talk about where we're at in Mililani, our board, because of the live fire exercises. And when you hear something go off, you think it's like right there, and it's not right there. They do on the East Range. That's a big area of controversy. So the public is always coming forward to that. And the low flying jet, I won't go into it. But anyway, it's very important that we
Now
have,
we're at a board meeting.
those notes in there because we bring the military back into, I would say accountability, but show them that this is, people live here. And they don't notice it, but we're there and I'm in Malca and things echo a lot. You hear a live fire on the East Range and it echoes. And you figure, what is that? And you call 911. I hear somebody firing, oh, it's East Range. People get excited really quickly, and it's because it's their home. And so I think working collaboratively is absolutely correct. Maybe and also doing more training, perhaps doing a master's class. I mentioned to Kathleen, I mentioned that here before, but she did a training class a few years ago in the running an effective board meeting, and it was like this. It was so good. I was sitting there like this, listening to her, and something like that, and a few other key topics: security, health, training. What do you do with a board member that first comes on? I used to love when we had after the election cycle, we had the meetings at what's the name of the historic building down in downtown next to Hollywood Mission. Yeah, we always did big meetings there live, and OIP was there, and they presented the sunshine law completely, and then they took questions, and it was a great time. Those type of encounters are excellent. It really gives you a feeling more of not only our responsibility, but how to deal with everything, because we're all in this together.
You know,
Great.
I think
Go ahead.
there, maybe in the survey, because the board has officers, you have a chair, a vice chair, a secretary, and a treasurer. Maybe we could consider putting questions in there pertaining to those people who volunteer to hold those offices.
Mhm.
Do you understand
Good.
the tasks?
I like that.
If you volunteer as a treasurer, do you understand the tasks that come with that
That's really good.
responsibility
We'll
that,
do that.
and working with our neighborhood assistants, right? It's because it's not just a title.
Yep.
You have to understand the responsibilities that come with it and perform the task to some degree and work collaboratively with our NCO office. Otherwise, if you can't do it, then don't say, hey, I want to be the secretary, or I want to be the treasurer. It's an office.
Mhm.
It's not just, I'm part of the neighborhood board.
Mhm.
I'm one of the officers of the neighborhood board.
Well, I got to see if you get a secretary.
Yeah,
And I like that on the
if
board,
maybe we could
we have,
have those questions.
I
in there.
agree. Also on our board, I always tell our board that it's a working board.
Yes,
I've been chair
exactly.
for education committee for 10 years and transportation committee did for another 5 years. But we all have to work together. No one person does it all.
Right.
Even the NA. they're- they're
Exactly,
support.
exactly. It's a
So-
working board. So it maybe would cause someone to think, when it's time, hey, who would like to, who do you nominate for treasurer? They understand and know, oh, there's some, even though I'm a volunteer,
Mhm.
there's some tasks that I'm responsible
Yeah.
for and I need to work with the neighborhood assistants on it. Don't just dump it on them.
Mhm.
So if we
Right.
could include those kinds of questions in the survey.
Yes,
Yeah.
agreed.
Chair, I think
Yes.
part of, with the training and the suggestions and the survey coming back, it's really, it takes a while, but there's a process where you have to change some of the mindset of the board members.
Mhm.
We've changed the laws and regulations over time. We've had to adapt because of COVID and
Mhm.
going online and those kinds of things. So yes, it may not have been, this is how we did it at the very beginning, but we've had to adapt the neighborhood plan and the rules and regs as they change.
Mhm.
We hope that they change the sunshine law thing for neighborhood board, but it's a living document. And so, some of the mindset, I think, has to be changed, as far as what exactly it's not, the neighborhood board is just not a sounding,
Mhm.
an individual sounding board kind of thing.
Yeah, we're the conduit of communication and we're responsible for that,
Right.
the true democratic process on that. So that's true.
Because it says here, minutes, I mean, minutes are not a full transcript or recording of a meeting.
But they need to bear legal scrutiny. We're able to take those minutes if we have to and answer questions before. a vote.
Right,
So
right.
that's for the accuracy. But you're right, it doesn't have to be a transcript. Okay, great. Anything else?
Michelle had her hand up.
Oh, Michelle, are you good again?
Oh, well, when Mahalani was speaking, I just wanted to say that I fully supported her last round of comments on this, and I would really like to, I probably not my position to request this, but have her comments reflected in the minutes. That is part of the statute that when somebody requests during a meeting that comments be reflected in the minutes that they should be. And I agree with her comments.
Great.
Just the last round.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
It's such an interesting topic.
You just got a compliment.
It's just because, if you look at the current section of the plan, like I said, that is the, older version of sunshine law. But as Claire just mentioned, times are changing. There are updated regulations. So one of those is the second part of the minutes. If you look at the two of them and you compare the second part, which is the video recording, it actually takes that section out that says that the minutes, and it does say secretary, but the minutes must reflect anything someone requested. That's in the old version, but in the new style, if you do it this way. And you're not forced to do it this way. Boards could go back to doing the old style of minutes. But if you do it this way, that request is actually taken out. That was just very interesting if somebody wanted to look at that.
Great,
I
thank you.
didn't see it removed from the statute. When was that done?
Hi, Michelle, Dylan here. Dylan Buck, just to clarify, not Dylan Weitzel.
Hey,
Uh,
Dylan.
I'm gonna eat.
I don't have it in front of me, but I can
Oh,
email you
Thank you.
the
They're great.
the current version, and nothing has changed, I believe, since we last spoke. But if you just compare the version that you're talking about and then the version that I'm talking about, you'll see that that item you're referring to is not included in the version I'm referring to. I can email you a copy tomorrow.
Okay, and another issue is chapter 92, 3.7, which requires complete minutes to replace any recording in any summary that is in 92.9 A and B, well, B. And I don't think anybody has recognized that section. I believe it might be B6 under chapter 92 3.7.
I have that.
So you really have to pay attention to replacing complete minutes with recordings and summaries when 3.7 shows that the recordings and summaries are secondary. and the complete minutes are priority. In I believe it's section, I think it's a B6.
Yeah, I see that also.
Yeah,
Michelle. I think sometimes, Michelle, if I can respond to that, sometimes the answer is yes and yes. It's not either or. It's yes, it needs to be complete, but also we're using the technology to supplement that.
Yeah.
You know, and that, and we collaboratively.
agreed.
Like I was just sharing a minute ago, you know, I had to go and do adjudication, go through meeting minutes that were 2 years old. And the court's not gonna look at a video. They're gonna say, show me the minutes. I've done that with different companies also. And so let's go with a yes and yes. Yes, we agree, and yes, we're going to do that. And yes, we're gonna find resolution to put this together in such a way that we, once again, this is a survey committee, so we're gonna put these question statements together and send them out electronically. Between now and the next survey meeting, we're gonna distill all this. And then we'll come back with our distilled questions and statements and review them for compiling with the existing ones we already have for presentation to the commission for consideration. So between this next month, we're gonna work on this to distill it. Okay? Yes.
Yes, just to clarify, you intend at your next meeting your next committee meeting
Survey committee meeting.
to take a vote on this finalized version of your survey,
Well,
because then
then-
once that's
Put together
finalized,
questions.
then you could propose it to the commission at the full.
Yeah,
board.
everyone's gonna come together with their distilled statements and questions. We'll present it, we'll talk about it at the next survey meeting. Then after that, we'll combine it together with the existing ones and then present to the commission. I don't know if we'll have, how much time we'll have.
You definitely just need to have a vote out of this committee to bring it to the full commission.
That's right.
So in order to do that, you don't obviously have to have, like a resolution could be amended at the meeting, but you have to have what you think is going to be voted on ready for that meeting.
That's right.
And just share it with yourself and the public.
Yes.
And then you can have that conversation. If you wanted to add any questions live in the meeting, you're good to go. But I just want to clarify, you got to pass it out of here
That's right.
before it goes to the commission for a
That,
vote.
correct. We'll do that. Thank
And then,
Yes, Claire.
and I don't know if we want to include this or we think it's appropriate, but I know it was raised. So I'm thinking that probably as a prelude to the survey, we should, and I don't know if it's doable, Lloyd, but we should post or state the annual budget for the neighborhood commission. Because,
That's been
like-
brought up sometimes, you're correct.
yeah, so neighborhood commission features, how much do we allot for, or functions, I'm sorry, how much do we allot for rent for neighborhood board meetings? How, and the supplies, how much is our personnel costs for admin and NAs differently? How much do we allot for Olelo broadcasts? And how is that set? Does everybody broadcast and then we divide that pot among all the boards? Or do some boards, like Aya for a long time didn't want to be recorded?
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so,
That's your chair, right?
yeah, but I don't even know if they record now. I don't think.
No, they are.
do. They
Watch it.
are.
I'll watch your board.
Oh, okay. So, yeah,
Oh, I'm spying on you.
well, I mean, I say, just put the microphone in front of you, so I don't, anyway.
No, Steve's a good guy.
Yeah, I know. So Lelo broadcasts, and how then they are divided, because I know before, if you want to talk about archiving things, I mean, ancient history is like, some of our Aya didn't want it, you know, kind of thing. And so whatever the budget was then split among the other neighborhood boards. How much the rental space is, do we allocate for rental space? You know, and of that, how is that divided, or do we set a blanket amount? Because some people were saying, oh, what happened to the lease we could negotiate for a whole year or 6 months, you know, kind of thing. So maybe we have to have some information as far as how much do we allocate for rental space?
Mhm.
Um,
I think that's fixed, is that? That's the one I checked, it's just a fixed fee
a whole lot,
per
Short answer is it varies.
yeah, see,
Drafts.
yeah,
other X amount of dollars per board, per location.
no, but what I'm saying is,
That's why we use the schools. Because
Yeah.
it's,
yeah, so but if we know how much,
And they vary themselves.
right,
oh.
so
they
do you
should
know
be
how
fixed.
much the
Yeah,
big
nothing-
pot
I have it
is?
right.
Yeah, if you know how much the big pot is, then you
Yeah.
can see how evenly it's divided or not evenly divided.
Oh, I see. You're looking at it.
So because, no, also because some boards might say, well, we're used to having it in this kind of upper area or, you know, in an air conditioned, whatever building and with it. And that might not be feasible. We're not, maybe not be able to have that anymore, depending on the budget. What, how much it costs to do neighborhood board mailings, and how much of the budget is allocated to like activities like PR activities. I don't know what else the budget it reflects, but these are some of the things that came up.
Do you have that in a spreadsheet already? Be nice to see that all on one page.
Yeah, so that,
33 different boards in which.
oh, no, I'm not necessarily saying, I'm thinking
Just
about the
budget.
overall
Just
budget.
Just
So,
overall. budget.
and then we can
Well, I
later,
don't get nothing out of that. What I get out of, when I take a look at it as a whole,
how do you
I can look
compare?
and see, okay, wait a minute, how come this was $500 and this was $250? You know,
Yeah,
or my pet peeve is Olelo. If I only use 90 minutes or 2 hours and you paid for 3, that's my bank money later on when I go 4 hours.
you're too efficient.
Actually, the little contractors do really well. They bring their equipment, they bring the mics, they're there early, they set things up, they do great for us.
Yeah.
And then when they're done, everything works really, they like it on it like that. They do a really great job.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
they just,
I don't want to jump in and talk about everything, but I can tell you about Olelo. Olelo doesn't come to the meetings. They don't shoot the meetings, they don't do the video.
It's the contractor.
It's a private contractor that does that.
It's a
And
contractor.
that contractor ends up adjusting the tape to fit a 3-hour window. Because that's the time, the airtime. It's only 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then they send that tape to Olelo and Olelo just runs the tape.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's a
So
contractor.
the problem is that if we go over 3 hours, it's not much show.
Okay, I understand.
but see, we set it at 3 hours
Yeah.
because it's a budget item,
TV, it's,
Right.
you know what I mean? So,
It's TV.
yeah, but Lloyd, yeah, it's set at 3 hours because it's a budget. That's what we contracted for 3 hour sometimes.
That's what we contract for the videographer.
Okay. Yeah, so what I'm saying is, you know, for people to say, well, we want a 4 hour meeting, you know, they have to know that they're in these constraints to these certain contracts and expenses. So it doesn't help us to ask for a 4 hour meeting if it's not going to be done, you know.
We'll put the questions out there and then we'll get this. Yes, Michelle, see your hand.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
There seems to be a discrepancy here because, contracts, are the contracts signed by the Neighborhood Commission Office, the Executive Secretary? Is that why we're limited to this time?
Signed by the county.
Contracts with what?
Okay, but who
Reynolds.
produces the contracts? Who finds the locations?
Oh, yes, are we talking locations or are we talking the videographer?
Locations.
Well, it's both, isn't it? Because you have to pay for both.
Yeah, the contract,
The videographer, you have limited to 3 hours, period.
that's the contract with the videographer.
Because they're
Yeah, and who
expensive.
signed that contract?
I signed that contract.
Uh-huh, okay.
But that doesn't mean I mean, you don't do it arbitrarily. I mean, you,
No, but the contract is for X amount of meetings throughout the year, and it's just basically up to 12 meetings times 33 boards.
right, so that, I mean, you figured a
Limited to 3
formula.
hours.
Right,
Yeah, you figured a formula so it's equitable to everyone,
right.
Right.
right? So is every neighborhood board, filming via Olelo now?
Yeah.
Okay,
You don't see them at AEA because that location is actually kind of like this. It's a small room where we can get by with our equipment.
yeah,
But they are still online doing their own recording. And like you said, they chop it up to make sure it's clean, has a nice title, and goes to a level.
well, I know at the last meeting, there was another guy there, and I said, oh, it's
Oh,
another person.
actually, no,
Here we go.
you can't
They
even.
got a little bit more to their team. So some other boards that didn't have them because they were in smaller venues, now they're starting to see them.
Yeah,
The idea is to have somebody at every single meeting, because like Larry mentioned, their equipment is really good, or I think those used to be.
Yeah, that's for your for that IA meeting, they got one microphone for the whole board.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I used to do that, but
But of course, what I'm getting
Really?
from this is when you do a board vote, the chair needs a repeat because you can't hear whether it's a yay or nay.
Yeah.
I know Bill Hicks is doing that right now, doing good.
I don't want to
Wait
get in
on
the
my
weeds,
little
but with
thing.
the voting, that's another thing that changed with sunshine law. You need to do, if it's a hybrid meeting, it's either unanimous consent, everyone's on the same side, or you do a roll. It's no show of hands, it's no calling the names like that. It's, you could let the NA just do the roll call. That'll help solve that issue right there.
Yes,
But if it's if the people that are hybrid, don't they have to have their face up in order to be counted as a vote?
If enough to make quorum are in person, then no, they do not need their cameras on. But if you need some of them to have their cameras on to achieve quorum, yes. And best practice would be show yourself when
Yeah,
you're
we
taking a
already have
vote. Other than
everybody.
that, no requirement to have your camera.
you already answered for yourself.
But
Okay,
yeah, I think we're getting into some weeds.
Okay, sorry.
that's just courtesy. Okay, anything else? So we're gonna review and distill what we have in front of us, be ready to present next meeting, right?
Okay.
Any
What-
questions on that, anybody?
You have
You
a
need to sign the next date for the next meeting.
Yes,
The 17th is a holiday. The
that's
24th
it.
would be the
One
commission.
more time, Stephen, we're going to review.
you're gonna distill, copy paste, because you have electronic, what you want to be put into the statements or questions going out electronically.
Got it.
Okay,
Okay.
great. So when's the next meeting then, Dylan, you're looking at?
Yeah, if you wanted to stay to Thursday, then it would be
Thursdays are
the
good.
20th.
Is it okay with you guys?
Yeah.
Okay,
Claire, how are you on
Um,
Thursdays?
Stay 20.
and then, okay,
Well-
that's fine.
I do have tours, my school tours on Thursdays.
Oh,
So, but it starts at 5. And then they took this late. Anyway,
Are you getting here on time? Is that okay? Do you have enough time for that?
if you don't mind me being a couple minutes late.
That's okay. Okay, great. So then go ahead and announce the date.
1, 2, 12.
All right, so we're looking at Thursday,
Nine,
February
10,
20th.
12, 9,
6
10,
PM
11,
at this
12.
location.
9, 10, 11, 12.
Okay, great. Is there anything else? with-
Yeah, one more thing, the division of labor players here.
I did
She's
9.
doing 9 through
I-
12. What am I doing? Which ones am I?
You did,
I did the first couple.
Larry,
I
you
did
did, hold on,
13
it's over here,
18.
Larry.
Yeah, Claire, like 13,
Larry,
13
you
to
did
18.
5 to 8.
5 to 8, okay.
Yeah, I did 9 to 12 and
Right.
Claire
Right.
13 to 18.
Right.
I did the first.
And Steve 1 to 4.
But 13, you did 13 to what?
18, the end of the document.
Okay. that's Steve.
Okay, 1 through 4. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Any comments? Michelle, one last comment. I see your hand up.
Oh, I didn't realize it was. I'm so sorry, but I do want to thank you so
Thank you
much.
for joining us
this
today,
meeting.
okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn the meeting. And what time do we have here? 7:17?
They don't let so anything what to-
Yes.
We're dealing with some,
Oh,
Yeah,
he,
did he
he,
go?
he was, he's not here right now.
Okay,
just as a courtesy,
okay, great.
Thank you.
one of our guys.
Okay, guys, I'm going to, our next meeting will be, the next survey meeting will be February 20th at 6 PM here, in Kabbalah High, in this conference room, okay? I hereby adjourn this meeting at 7:14 PM. Thank you.